transferred from one when it was closed in 87, and I worked at Kennelly Colliery, which was the last of the British coal deep mines to close in this country.
The impact on those communities, I think even Norman Tebbit, who was Trade and Industry Secretary, said it went too far. But today, do you look back and think there have been advantages from the closure of the mines, because it was very bad for miners' health, their lungs, all the other related issues, and of course we do know bad for the environment?
No, I don't believe it was. It was a hard job. It was a dangerous job, but we all knew those risks when we went down the pit. Most of us followed as fathers and grandfathers into the mining industry. Yeah, you could say that Margaret Thatcher, when she closed the pits, and the Tory government after, made them safer pits. But with no jobs, with no industry, the decimation in communities, the lads that worked down the pit, that then started suffering with ill health, that were being looked after by the younger generation in that pit and would have done a productive job right up to retirement, were thrown on the scrap heap when that pit was shut. Even the few jobs that came into the mining communities following the pit closure, they wouldn't look at the old lads with a bad back, bad knees, bad chest. That she devastated the community, she devastated people's lives.
There's an irony as well, isn't there, that Thatcher went in 1990, Mr. Kitchen, then John Major's government took over. Michael Heseltine, as deputy, whatever his posh title was, he closed more mines than anybody else, I think, didn't he? Michael Heseltine, and he was the great intervener to protect industry, so say.
Yeah, I think you've got to remember though, Mike Heseltine, we're following on from the Ridley plan and Thatcher's policies that she'd already put in place. By that time, most of the mines had been managed into closure. They wasted money at the pits, they made them uneconomic. That's why the NUM could not accept a pit closure on economic grounds alone. We all know that work down the mines, you could get a multi-million-pound investment in a new face setup that might not work, it might not be right for the conditions at that mine. You could hit a fault. So you can go from being a productive pit that's making a profit, you know, to a loss-making pit. But once you get through that fault, once you get that equipment sorted out, you go back to making profits. Having each pit stand alone meant that it would only a question of time before your pit hit problems, and with no other pits around to support you that were making money, you were due to be closed. We were managed to closure.
Can I ask you just finally, he was an infamous figure, I was certainly no fan of him. You'll know who I'm going to mention, Mr. Arthur Scargill, the infamous General Secretary of the National Union of Mine Workers, who conspired to get himself arrested on picket lines, who was a demagogue, and it was Thatcher versus Scargill. She won in the end, Mr. Kitchen, but if he put the miners' strike to a democratic vote, he'd have had so much more conviction on his side, wouldn't he? Wasn't that the biggest mistake of the National Union of Mine Workers that you now represent?
No, some areas had already had the vote, and we voted to come out in solidarity action if there were a big closure programme that were announced. The government deliberately, as the recently released cabinet papers show, Margaret Thatcher wanted to take us on in 1982. She was told that she couldn't do it then because she would definitely lose. They didn't have the coal stocks. So they knew that we'd got a ballot result to come out if pits were closed. They deliberately held that closed list back till 1984 when they were ready, and then they released the pit closure programme. You know, and everything stems from there. And to be fair, Mr. Scargill was the president of the National Union of Mine Workers, but it'd been planned round it, and it didn't really matter whether it was Arthur Scargill or Joe Bloggs. They'd got the Ridley plan, they'd got the resources behind it to decimate our industry as a vendetta for what happened in 72 and 74.
All right, that's Chris Kitchen. He's General Secretary of the National Union of Mine Workers. Just for your history-based basis, 72, 73, 74, Ted Heath's government fell because there was a miners' strike. There were power cuts. Everybody thinks the 3-day week happened under Labour. No, it happened under a Conservative government, Ted Heath, and the miners whacked the Heath government, and people argue that Mrs Thatcher bided her time till she could whack the National Union of Mine Workers. Talking about Boris Johnson, who should not have made a joke about Thatcher making an early start to climate change by closing coal mines. Closing coal mines has reduced climate change, of course, carbon emissions, but I don't think he should have made a joke about it. We'll carry on there with that conversation about